Hello everybody, I'm Arden. Welcome to another episode of Minecraft Enigmatica 2 Expert. Well, we have a lot more power as seen in the last couple episodes, so I figured what we should do today is clean up our sieving operation, because I'm running out of some materials, specifically redstone and lapis and coal. We could use more of all of that, which means we need to expand our operation. I would also like to have the means to deal with the crushed netherrack and endstone that I have to get other resources out of those as well. And you know what? I don't want to do any more mining. Just done with that. Done! So, let's take a look at what we need to do today. One of the big things I've been waiting on to build was the Material Stoneworks factory to expand this out, which allows us to, in one machine, crush cobblestone into gravel, into sand, into dust, which lets us get all of the other stages we need to do to run our sieving operation. And one of the main thing we were blocked on for this was the pink slime that we finally made a couple episodes back. So we're not actually blocked on this, now we're just lazy. So I figured we'd knock this out today and then clean up the whole sieving operation with a proper Xnet setup, just to make it a lot more compact and easier to look at and deal with in the future. Does that sound like a good plan? Alright, so let's get started on this. Alright, so some of y'all hopefully remember that this is what my sieving system looks like in its huge, gigantic mess of ducts. We're going to compact this significantly down into a tiny little spot, and some of this won't even be necessary. Like, we're mostly not going to need the buffer chest anymore, and we're definitely not going to need that compacting drawer because of how the Material Stoneworks needs. And the mechanism crusher, well, we can yank that out and repurpose that elsewhere. So, give me a few minutes to tear all of this out. Alright, and all done with the initial setup to make sure everything works properly, and as you can see, it's a lot more compact than it was. It's pretty much a straight line, and it's all set up to scale. I'm going to need to add 3 more arrays on this. I'm going to wrap them around that Xnet cable on top, because I need to do another gravel one with an iron mesh to get agate. I need to do one for sand to get prismarine and aquamarines, and then I need to do the last one to make dust to do redstone. So I need to go put together some more machines and then make sure our power draw doesn't outstrip our ability to do this. Also, looking into the furnace, this is also going kind of slow, but it is an extra utils furnace, which, as seen last episode, we can upgrade. So I'm going to go make some speed upgrades for this too as well. And then we can put a couple more furnaces in to help process this and all the other ores that are coming out of this. Oh wait, before I go, I realized I never explained the Material Stoneworks to you guys. So if you come to the interface, this first slot right here, this makes cobblestone. That's all that it does. It just constantly makes cobblestone as if it's a cobblestone generator. That's why there's no cobblestone generator hooked up to this array. We pause this real fast. The second one sets of various things you can do. In this case, we've got it set to grind, so it turns cobblestone into gravel. You can also make it a 3x3 craft, which would make it compressed gravel. You can stop it to have it do nothing to make this the last step. You can turn to furnace, which would turn cobblestone into stone. Or you can do a 2x2 craft, which isn't useful to us in this case. So to make it into sand, you would do grind, and then to do dust, it would be grind. And then you would have dust, and then you would make it a 3x3 to make it compressed dust to pass into the heavy sieve. But this is just making gravel, and we need to make another gravel one, and then one for sand and one for dust. So you'll see all this later. So let me turn this back on so we can keep getting our stuff. But as you can see, the whole thing is going a lot faster than it was before, and we're actually getting stopped up in the furnace right now. But we can work on that. All right, so as you can see, I've built out a second array. But in doing so, I've fallen down another rabbit hole and found a problem. Yeah, it's not great. So if we look inside this furnace, you can see that it's outputting its ingots just fine. There's chunk going along, all good. We go into the second furnace, however, and we're stuck with a full stack of copper that's not exiting out. And I think the problem is right here at the tunnel exit. I think it's actually getting throttled right there by single ingots coming out of the first furnace there. And the ducts on the other side, on the outside, aren't picking them up fast enough to get rid of them. So for now, I've got only one of these sieves turned on. As you can see, there's something floating on it. We've already got excess output going on because we're not getting stuff out of the system fast enough. So we're going down a bit of a rabbit hole, and I'm going to try to speed this up. And the first thing I'm going to try are Impulse Itemducts. So Impulse Itemducts are basically an upgraded form of the normal item duct, and they travel a lot more quickly through it, so it should empty things out a lot faster. And to make these, we need to put energized glowstone in it via a fluid infuser from Nuclearcraft. And to make the energized glowstone, we need a melter from Nuclearcraft to just melt down glowstone. All pretty easy. If we look at the melter, it's all stuff we've made before except for this machine chassis, which is pretty easy, and this servo mechanism, which is also pretty easy. It's all stuff we've made before. And the fluid infuser is almost the exact same thing. So let me put these together, slop them in the wall, and we'll see if this gets us out of the hole we're in. Alright, so I got the melter and the fluid infuser made. They're in the wall. There's a duct connecting the two of them. Let's go toss in some glowstone and show you how this works. So inside the melter here, we just throw glowstone in. It slowly melts it down. It's just, you would see it filling up here, but it's constantly adding it to the fluid infuser down here, where we now have energized glowstone. We can toss item ducts in, and out pop impulse item ducts. So let's go slop these into the wall and see if this makes things work better. Alright, so the bad news is this didn't solve the problem. We're still kind of screwed up here. So the next thing we're going to try to do is buffer chests. We're going to have these output into a chest and then dump them out through the tunnel instead, and we'll see if that helps with the outgoing flow at least. Alright, so I added a buffer chest. I added some extra room in case I needed to make some more changes. They're now outputting to here. As you can see, stuff's starting to pile up. I specifically added an Impulse Itemduct to make sure this travels at the same speed on both sides of this. Hopefully the tunnel doesn't interfere. And a Resonant Servo to hopefully yank out whole stacks. So let's see if this works. Well, so far the results are kind of promising. It does appear to be clearing out parts of the chest. And more or less empty. So let's turn everything back on and let's see if we can still claim victory or not. Okay, so far it seems to be operating like a champ, but now I turned everything off to let it reset and let the compressor empty out finally. So let's turn everything back on and see if we can actually handle the load coming in from everything all at once. Well, it looks like the compressor is definitely going to back up some, so I probably need to double the number of furnaces that I have here, but that's not a big deal. We can do that out. That's one of the reasons I added space here at the end of the raid to add more furnaces if we need to, so we can just bulk that out. So now I think the next step is to quadruple this and add the two missing arrays onto this so we can do the sand and the dust. Alright, so I set up the rest of the array, and as you can see, it actually only takes 4 furnaces to keep up with it, and I only needed 2 of the compressors. So overall, this is all set up pretty nice and compactly. That said, I am not without some problems, because if you look in this chest, this is the buffer overflow that's stuff gets shoved into if it's not fast enough to get out through the tunnel. And we have an overflow problem, and I don't actually know how to solve this right now. I tried punching a second tunnel out, but I'm using the same ducts on the other end, so I don't think it's going fast enough. I'm going to have to try to probably put a second duct out to route around to another slave to try to get it the inputs out fast enough. But I will solve that offline on my own time. As it is, I have just tons of materials coming in now, though. So that solves my mining problem for quite a while. I lied. I'm solving the problem right now. It was a real easy solution. I just had to add another slave right here. There's one right here. This is one that both the ore and the tree farm are going into now. This is going into both with 2 inputs into that one. So it's now going extremely fast. Anyways, since I do have this solved, I think I'm just going to cap it here, folks, and just call this a good week. So as always, I'm Ard. Thank you for watching, and have a nice day.